Okay, I think we're on.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Quilting Unscripted, where the chat is casual about all things quilting. So
Hi,
I'm
Lynn.
Lynn Wheatley, and I come from Central Vermont, a little tiny corner in Vermont, and I'm from Lynn Wheatley Design.
Hi, I'm Carla Alexia from Quilting by the River, and I am in the French River in Northern Ontario, the land of all things cold for now. We see water on the river.
Well, today was a stellar day here in Vermont. It hit 65 degrees here. So we have lost most all of our snow, and I don't think we're going to have a traditional mud season. If everybody knows about New England, there are 5 seasons in the year. There's a 5th season, and it's called mud season. So this year we thought for sure with the large snowpack and a fairly deep frost, we were going to have a traditional mud season, which, you know, there were times where you really didn't want to have to go down the dirt road. And but it's drying up nicely. The frost is coming out. It had warmed up gradually. The ice went out without trouble this year, and things are good. Actually, I didn't get a picture of it, but I have one little Johnny jump up that is almost fully bloomed.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I know. So it's on the western side next to the barn, and it gets a lot of sun. It gets warm there early.
Color. Here it comes.
Yeah. So excited about springtime.
I have an apology. I know you and I do this all the time, but we've just been sort of really busy. I still haven't done my blog post. And for anybody that, is waiting anxiously, I'm trying. I think about it at night, and then my morning comes and whoosh, and then it's night again, whoosh. And that's my world. I've got pictures to post, and I am doing a special blog post for Studio 180 Designs for their new Forest Flora line of fabric that's out that I have done Harvest Hues for Island Batik. So I don't quite know how this is all going to work because I'm pretty close to launching my new website. So all this technical stuff eats.
Yes.
You had a technical day today as well.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, there's been a few challenges of late, and same with me. My newsletter, it always gets pushed by things like being with you quilters on the road, preparing a design, the next design, or just lately, I have pushed through 13 quilts through my long arm, which
in how long?
Since the 1st of March. So it's been a busy studio downstairs for me. Luckily, there was a couple of custom jobs in there, and hopefully one of those jobs will head to Billings and be displayed at the Billings exhibit this summer. It's for one of my customers I've had for a very, very long time, and I'm always excited to do her quilt. So it's a busy time, but the newsletter will be coming.
Well, and then I'm changing platforms again.
Right.
So I'm not quite sure how that's all going to work. And you want it all to be under one umbrella so that all you have to do is hit a button and you see all my blog posts or blogging. I call it a blogging newsletter, because I tend to tell little stories and talk about the weather and, tell people to grab their camera and take pictures. So when it's all gray and white and cold, you can look at your computer screen and see the yellow daffodils and the red roses and those kind of things. So we try, Lynn. Yeah. We try.
Yeah. Yes. So, busy preparing also. I'm headed back out on Saturday to teach at Middlebury, the Quilters Corner. There's a collage class there. And then next week, I head out on the road again. I'm going down to Uniontown, Pennsylvania. Amy's Quilt Room is hosting one of the Quiltapalooza retreats, and I am teaching both Ellie's Blooms and Just Cuz. It's called Curve Appeal, and so this is where you can come and you can learn all about how to curve piece.
Yeah.
And so that'll bring me back, and it'll be April when I get home. And we'll be launched into April, which is the New England Quilt Exposition, which I'll be teaching 4 days there, right in the smack in the middle of April. So anyway, that's what I've got going, up on the road here in the next couple of weeks. So it's a fun time.
It's a fun time. I've got as I mentioned last live, I'm in the process of doing a 4-part fundamentals class with a group here in my hometown. And the second class is this coming Sunday, and the third class, will be March the 5th or April 5th. So that little span in between, the kids are coming from England, the grandbabies, and we're all going to Mont Tremblant. And I have to have everything ready for then and the kids and the quilting and the prep. And it just, somebody asked me one day, so what do you do? And it's like, I don't know how to answer that. Pick one.
Yeah. So that's a funny story, because today I was in at an orthopedic appointment, and the orthopedic surgeon said to me, "What does a professional quilter do?" And so I went on and on about, what I do, and, and they're like, "You exhaust me." So anyway, it was an interesting conversation when you have this world of ours and you talk about it with somebody who really is very unfamiliar with it, and trying to describe what we do and what excites us.
It's like bringing a non-quilter down into my studio, and they look around and every corner is something different. There's the retail corner that requires maintenance and paperwork and ordering and upkeep. And then there's the design walls and the sewing and the teaching tables and the long arm, and then this mess. And a little funny story about tonight. Welcome to YouTube, everybody. This is a new jump again, because Lynn and I have, copious amounts of time to figure out technology. But so what was happening was, we have a pile of people out there that would like to watch us on Unscripted. And when we were on Facebook, you have to have a Facebook account to watch Facebook. And that just didn't sit well with us, because if you want to see us, just see us. So our only choice was to jump into the YouTube world and create a YouTube channel so that everybody could just sit and listen to us chat. You might be sewing right now. So Lynn, I got an SOS about 6 o'clock. I'm surprised you still have hair. Because she was like, I can't log in. Bah. So, yeah.
So
but we're here.
Definitely a couple of nuances with the YouTube platform that until you actually do it and you start working with it, you don't understand them fully. And tonight we had a little bit of a glitch. Earlier, I was going to host, but we don't have one part of this set up correctly for me to actually do that. So Carla has actually had to activate everything from her end. But yeah,
and that wasn't. We figure we've got gremlins tonight, because I was all set up in front of my design wall. I've got all my so kind of wonderful samples on the wall, and it wouldn't let me join my YouTube because I don't know, my laptop's got a gremlin. So here I am in my office corner.
Yeah. So talking about what's on the design wall. Okay. Carla just got another design accepted by Island Batik.
Woohoo! I did. That's always sort of stressful, as you know. You play around with shapes and rectangles and triangles, and you try to come up with something really cool. And not only cool as far as shapes go, but something that, if you prep it early enough, you don't really know what the fabric lines are going to look like that's coming out. So you don't know if it's going to be adaptable to multicolors, or does it have a winter feel or a summer feel, or, because quilts have feelings. And so, yeah, I lucked out, and I got the line of fabric that I was the colorway that I was sort of hoping to present in my quilt. And fingers crossed, It's been accepted. So, no sleep for the kind, only for the wicked, because here starts the work. I guess the fabric should be arriving April. Make the sample, write the pattern. Here we go again.
Yeah. And I decided to take this cycle off because the last cycle, which I don't normally submit to, is sort of the cycle where blocks of the month are more adaptable to the quilt shops picking them up. So I did that interim cycle, and I have a block of the month that's on the design wall getting ready to go to the testers, which will be in print in June. And then I'll be doing a quilt along with that in January, starting in January. So that's kind of like what's on my design wall working right now. And then we have something together on our design walls that we'll talk about later.
Yep, we'll talk about it later. So did you just get home? You just got home. Where have you been? You've been out teaching.
Oh, yes. So in February, our last live, I was at an event in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And then immediately upon leaving that, I spent just a couple hours at home. And then I immediately got on a plane and flew to Florida to teach at AQS Quilt Week in Daytona. And that was absolutely a blast. I got to do a new event that they started this year, and that was a learn and lunch. So it was a lecture that I did during lunch, and everybody got to eat. So it was kind of like they were getting a 2-for-1 thing. They got a lecture, and they also got their break in between classes and got to have lunch kind of like brought to them. So it was a lot of fun at Daytona.
Yeah.
And I taught a gambit of project as well as technique classes, and they were all just a blast, and everybody had a really, really good time. Unfortunately, I left right after that bad storm, February 18th, 19th. And I went to Florida thinking, I can just pack my summer clothes and go. Well, it was cold in Florida the whole week I was there. So I was dressed in what we could consider spring clothes for Vermont. And it was, people down there were dressed in Parkers. It wasn't really that cold. It was 50.
Well, we are Northerners,
Right. So it was kind of funny. I was in a spring dress, and the next person next to me would be in a Parker. And it was like, it was a blast.
The epitome of a Canadian. I was in Toronto last weekend with the grandchild. We went to the Toronto Zoo. I saw my first gorilla and funky monkey and all those things. But we decided to take my nephew's daughter out for supper because she's going to school down there. And when we picked her up, I was dressed exactly like I am now. The sweater, the scarf, the blue jeans. I wasn't a bit hot. So it was beautiful down there. Maybe plus, by the time we picked her up in the evening, it was probably like +8 Celsius. And she comes out of her residence in these shorty shorts and a t-shirt. And I'm like, get some pants on. You're going to freeze to death. Your mother's going to give me heck if you get cold because I haven't told you to. But we're tough, right? You can always spot a Northerner. Yeah. You can always spot a Northerner in their shorts in March. Yeah. I tell you. Anybody who's out there, drop us a comment. Let us know we're around. Doreen, hi. Hi, nice to have you on. Hopefully nobody's scrambling around Facebook or whatever, but you know what? I'm going to say that they'll get used to it. They really will. Doreen, did you have problems finding us or connecting or whatever? So I just got home. Well, I had to go groceries today, but I've been away for 2 days teaching. I was in a nice, beautiful town just to the east of us called North Bay, Ontario. Big cottage country up there. I've known these girls for a long, long time. Some of them are very good friends. Anyway, I was asked to go down and teach some curved piecing. So they had picked to do Posh Penelope. And I have a funny little story about Posh. I started my Posh Penelope maybe 3 years ago. I cut the whole thing. And, silly me, I tell my students, don't cut the whole thing till, you've worked out your colors and your values and the whole bit. So, I cut all my fabrics out, cut them all into shapes, and I started. I probably in one of the retreats made about 6 or 7 blocks. So I pull the project out to do the sample to teach in North Bay, and I'm using these backgrounds that I had cut with some of the lighter fabrics, and decided there is no value difference. So the blocks were just coming out, just looking like blanks. So really had to redo a whole pile of them. But once I got over that, it was a good learning curve for them to say, I had all kinds of samples of what not to do, right? Without purposefully, we don't purposefully do these mistakes to say, now look don't do this. It's because been there, done that, saving you some time. So had a ball. They did extremely well. Even though I think when you present a curve piecing class, they get a little curve piecing. Oh my goodness. But once they got into it and did their first set of curves, it was onward. And then the second day I did a lecture trunk show for them, showcasing all of my pattern quilts. So that was fun. Hopefully inspired somebody to, take some hints and step out of the boxes that we sometimes get ourselves into and just learn to play and have some fun.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Which brings us to tonight's topic. Tonight's topic is all things curve piecing. Because along with Studio 180, that's what you and I tend to do.
Right. So, both of us are certified instructors for So Kind of Wonderful. And we, I've done a few patterns. Some people have seen them before. We talk about Elise Bloom's and Abby's puzzle. There you go. She's got them right there. Curve piecing, I think some people are a little bit apprehensive. And so we wanted to talk about that. And I'm going to start with my story with curve piecing. So in 2011, I bought into the drunkard's path. I bought the book, The Curve Master Foot, and I started trying to make a drunkard's path quilt. And I was so, frustrated or not willing to accept the performance I was getting out of my piecing. And I wasn't quite sure exactly what the problem was, but after a bunch of tries, I ditched it. I absolutely ditched it. I gave it all away. And I said, I'm not going to do curve piecing. I love all the geometry of traditional piecing, and I can do so much with diagonals, all of the diagonal lines and everything. So I just ditched it. But then came this method, and I did a lecture at AQS at Quilt Week last month about making units oversized and trimming them down. Now, Studio 180 has been doing that for a long, long time.
Well, they fit so well hand in hand.
Yeah. So think about it. If you could make the curve a little bit oversized and then you trim it down so that it is perfect. So here we make it a little oversized, and you can see the trim lines on that. So what that does is it locates the curve almost identical from piece to piece, from unit to unit, just like we do with Studio 180. So Jenny and Helen came up with that idea with the curved rulers from So Kind of Wonderful. So that's the skinny. And when I saw that, I was like, boy, does that make sense? It works for Studio 180. Of course it will work for curves.
Yeah.
So, instead of taking two pieces that are supposed to be identically cut to fit into each other like a drunkard's path and trying to get them to behave each other.
Well, the average
stitch
how many times I mean, we've all been there. We've tried it. You're pinning the center. You're trying to stretch so that you start at the top and end at the end, and it's puckered.
Some people glue and then they clip the back of the seam, and it's like, what is all of this? This is just not fun.
I like to say, ain't nobody got time for all of that.
Yeah. So, once I saw the method and made that connection, and then it was just, well, okay, well, how does the average quilter do this? And what little techniques and what little tricks can I figure out that will help them master this? Because when I first started doing the So Kind of Wonderful stuff, I ran into lots of quilters that came to me and said, well, I bought the rulers and I got the pattern and I can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so
just before you go, for anybody that's not familiar with So Kind of Wonderful, I'm going to hold up. We've probably all seen the Santa. Oh, you got the bunny.
So it's almost Easter, so the bunny is out in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have a flower that's done with it. Yeah. So these are pieces that are pieced together. They're oversized and trimmed down.
Yeah. Now, the So Kind of Wonderful stuff, and it was funny because over the course of the day of teaching it, you get to fill them in all kinds of things. But one of the things that they didn't know was that there's more than one kind of ruler. And I just happened to be able to bring mine here. So they've got this guy. He's called the Mini, and he's got a blue dot, okay? And the blue dot, you'll see Santa has a blue dot. So
Right.
Santa's curve and this one go together. So you have to do, he does smaller, he's upside down.
He did the bunny.
He did the bunny. He does a smaller block. And Lynn, what's the difference? So I'll just go through the other ones. So this is the first one that I've ever been introduced to. I did I think it's a poinsettia block, that real easy big poinsettia block. But you'll notice that he's got a gold CR on him. So all the patterns that use this tool, ruler, you look for that one. And he's much bigger than that guy. So my question to you, Miss Math, why can't I use this one in all of the ones like the Santa and the bunny? And why do I have to use this one? What's the difference?
Okay, so here's the skinny with all of that. So relating to things in our everyday lives, let's talk about the dinner plate, which is like the QCR. It is a big circle. These are portions of circles. These grooves, these curves are portions of circles, complete circles. So that is like a platter or a dinner plate. It makes a really big circle. Okay. The mini QCR makes a small circle. So it's kind of like the 8-inch dinner plate, the one you use because you don't want to put too much food on your plate when you eat dinner.
Like now?
Yeah, like now.
Summer's coming, shrink the plate.
Right. And then the Wonder Curve, which is the most recent ruler that they have come out with. Okay. It is the ruler with the colored lines on it. That's the way I explain this to people.
Yeah.
It has the smallest radius. So that means it's like the little tiny dessert plate. Okay. So they are all different radiuses, curves. They are not the same. It's not just longer or shorter. It's actually, it makes a different size circle. Okay. So that's the difference. And that's why, when you design a pattern that uses a particular curved ruler from them, it is very important to use that curved ruler because you won't be able to use the instructions to produce the same size unit by trying to use the wrong ruler. It just is not, it's not a happy day.
Now, how do they differ? Okay. From other than for the fact that I don't have to pin or whatever. So how do they differ from something that the book that was written for the templated drunkard's path, or, you'll go to Guild and somebody has some cardboard curves cut out. Is that different than the rulers?
So I think the traditional drunkard's path, when you look at the two templates, okay.
Yeah.
These radiuses are different to accommodate your seam allowance. To simplify so they're different. One might be 4 inches and the other one might be 4.5 because you suck in that 1/2 inch in your seam allowance. Sew Kind of Wonderful says, I don't have to worry about that because I'm going to oversize my units and trim them down.
Yeah,
So you cut both halves with the same.
A traditional drunker's path, you take your square, cut your curve, and sew the two together in different colors.
So there is just one. Oy, oy. Hang on. Hold,
it's unscripted, ladies. It's unscripted. We'll figure it out.
Remember,
we'll get it.
We just go at this. So you'll see this ruler. It's going to look at the
There
reflection.
you go. Right there.
Okay. So it's got this groove in it. And I think you're cutting the same curve. And sometimes you cut and use both halves of a square, and sometimes you don't with this ruler. It's got the versatility to allow you to do it both ways. Okay. But what's really tricky is, and this is where a lot of people couldn't quite get it, is that you're cutting in a groove. Now, we don't normally do that with rulers. We normally take our rotary cutter and we'll ride against the ruler, right? Because you're in a groove, the position of the rotary cutter in your hand and the position relative to the ruler is key to success. Okay, and that's something that is not easy to describe in a pattern as we write things. Okay, some tips can be written in there, but physically doing this is where taking a class with one of us really shines. And of course,
one of the things that happened on Monday when we were doing the beginning cutting and whatever was just getting them to hold the rotary cutter properly, you know, with the base in the palm of the hand and the pointy finger method. Because for a lot of us, and me included, I mean, I have been rotary cutting for almost 30 years now, and I'm a grabber. And, you know, this is what I do. And to put that finger, and I have to tell you, when I saw somebody, we'll go back 10 years ago, put their finger out like that, I said, no, because my fear was they're going to put it too far and run that rotary cutter and slice their finger. And it caused willies. I can do it now myself, but, you know, that's what goes through your mind. It's like, oh my God, don't put your finger close to the blade. Get it away.
Most of it is, you know, understanding why it works and how it works, and then applying that to correct what habits we form because we don't know that. We don't know anything else. We just do it the way that we think it should happen. And when you understand why.
As with all classes, there's always those couple that go ahead and try to do parts of it. You know, they like to sort of, oh, what am I up against? So they'll do a block on their own at home before they come to class. And working through it, the response or the comments that kept coming back was, I didn't do that. I didn't know that. Oh my God, this is such a good tip. I didn't know that. And so, yes, by all means, a lot of us have grabbed these patterns, done them ourselves. They've all been fine. They've all worked out, whatever. But there are just almost those little nuances that just us, we've made the mistakes. We've jiggled and skewed and come up with just that much easier method. And cutting is one of those things from a health and an ergonomic standpoint. I'm always very well aware of my students who have bad shoulders and wrists and you know, and angling and cutting in certain ways is something that I zone in on so that, you know, you can keep going. I hate to say it, but pain-free sometimes if you've got arthritis in the wrists or a bad shoulder. And it's bringing those little cutting angles and tips into focus.
Yeah.
We've got
so there's also a tool that I think is key to successfully curve piecing when you're doing your stitching. And here they are. It's our tweezers.
Okay. Yeah, Lynn and I don't Twitter. We tweezer.
Carla was waiting all night to say that.
I did. I was.
Yeah, so having a pair of tweezers is really instrumental. How you hold the fabric, it's an open bias. You're trying to bring that fabric together, kind of like a zipper,
Yes,
and they're
very
coming
much.
in from two different directions. And so the tweezers, when you get down towards the end of that seam, is key right there.
Because
So
a lot of us, when we enter that, when we start putting it together, you'll walk around and you see everybody wants to hold that concave, that inside curve on the bottom, and they want to stretch it to make it straight, because that's what they're used to doing, is sewing straight. And it's like, no, just put them together. It's like,
yeah,
clapping those hands. Think about
a
that.
whole bunch of nuances like that makes curve piecing. It's slower, no doubt. It is slower, but you can get this rhythm going with it that is sort of more. It's relaxing because you're not like, stitching at warp speed. Because a lot of our now machines are performed so well that when we're stitching straight stuff, especially larger pieces, we just pedal to the metal and whereas the curve piecing is more of like, it's like orchestra.
Yeah.
So I find it very sort of relaxing to do some curve piecing.
I have to say, I'm not new to curve piecing, but I'm new as a certified instructor. So just, getting all those tips and tricks into one hat to spew forth to the students is, just starting to be part of the new repertoire. Now, Lynn, by the way, and I think I held this up before, Lynn designs. Lynn designs with a combination of Studio 180 and Sew Kind of Wonderful. So Abby's puzzle the other week you showed in the background.
Yeah.
And Ellie's blooms.
Yeah.
So far you've got 2, and now your block of the month is not
there is Just Cuz.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and there's Just Cuz. Yep. So some things, if you're in my neck of the woods, as I say to Canada, as in not just Northern Ontario, but if you're Canada and you want any of Lynn's patterns, just throw me an email, and we can pop that in the mail for you.
Yeah, another little signature thing about curve piecing is I have found that the quilter relaxes in the class if they're not worried about making a mistake with their fabric. So one of the things that I do when I teach curve piecing is, when you first learn the unit that is in the design, or the basic unit that comes with the ruler, there's always a project with the rulers. I have you master the technique of making that unit with my fabric. It's on my dime. You're come to take a class from me and for me to teach you. And I think it's just a little signature thing that I picked up that I find that is a great icebreaker, and people are much more relaxed if they know that they can make mistakes. They can learn by actually manipulating that fabric and making that curve happen, and it be practice. It just be practice. So that's the other thing about my classes, because one of the things that you'll find in my patterns is I design with unit shapes that are created by the Sew Kind of Wonderful rulers, but Sew Kind of Wonderful does not use those shapes in their pattern. They are different shapes. I've put the curves in different locations of the units. So it's very important for me to make sure that everybody can get this. Okay, can get there's a lot you can do with these rulers, a real lot.
So knowing that,
yes,
as the ticker tape goes through the bottom of the
that's right.
We are just about ready to let's be honest, we were thinking about keeping the cruise quilt a mystery, and then we started designing it, and then thought, you know what, it's just too darn cute to keep it a mystery. And so we are going to let everybody see what the quilt is going to look like for the cruise, but not tonight.
Right.
And we're not going to do it tonight because, hang on.
Well, she's operating the controls. We are going to reveal the design of the quilt and have a special live next Tuesday on March 25th with a cruise director, Michelle from Quilting Adventures.
Now we did an interview with her back in December. Was it December or November? It was
early December.
Early December. And she was having problems with her mic and blah, blah, blah. And we said, you know what? We had a lot of feedback. Long story short, we're going to do it again. We're going to answer some of those questions. And if you're sitting on the fence about this cruise,
right,
she'll answer your questions. We're a go.
Yeah.
The cruise is a go. The cruise is a go. We've got signups are coming in. We're quite happy about that. I'm eating off a smaller dinner plate now in preparation of next April.
The 12 months of starvation between now and the cruise.
Smell the cheesy bag, eat the lettuce. Smell the cheesy bag, eat the lettuce. Yeah.
Yeah. So certainly, after we do the reveal, it will be on our websites. It will also be on the elevated quilting cruise page, and there'll be links to that as well. So it's going to be a lot of fun. The quilt's going to be a lot of fun. And yes, it's going to have a few curves, because think about it. We're in the Caribbean. We're in the Caribbean, and there's some curvy things there. So
not me. Nope. Nope, not me.
Yeah. So definitely join us or come back and watch that live where we do that reveal, as well as we talk and answer more questions and a little bit more description about what that cruise adventure is all about.
I have to admit, Lynn, for those that you don't for those of you who don't know, part of our cruise, we will be stopping at Carabel Boutiques. Lynn and I both designing for Island Boutique just fits right in. So we've got the Studio 180 stuff. We've got the curve piecing stuff. We've got the boutique stuff. We're just jam-packed with all those special things that we really are passionate about doing and making and whatever. So we're trying to stuff it all into one cruise package. And the Carabel Boutique thing, to my knowledge, is not just a walk around and look. I think they'll be able to
make your own little boutique.
Dip their hand into doing some. So
that's super exciting.
That is really super exciting. Yeah. So we've got Michelle on Tuesday. Our next Quilting Unscripted is coming up on April the, hang on.
She's working on the banner.
I'm working on the banners.
So for those people who are local around here in New England, I am doing a brand new bindings class at New England Quilt Exposition, which I have not done yet. So, but it's going to be a ton of fun. It's basic bindings, and you're going to learn both machine techniques as well as the couple of different hand stitches that people use, and then odd angle, 2-color bindings, and then we're gonna master that 1/8 inch binding for those miniatures. So I'm really excited about that. Also, many of my classes are technique classes at New England Quilt Exposition, and I'm focusing in for some reason this year on log cabins. So we'll be doing that 60-degree log cabin, the curvy log cabin, and the traditional log cabin. Okay. And so there's a few spots left in those classes. So you might want to grab those before they're done. And so that's April 9th through the 12th down in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Yeah. So up here in my neck of the woods, anybody who's listening to Lynn going, hey, I want to do that, and I want to do that. Those are all going to be listed on my website for my out and abouts, and CQA 2025. So the Canadian Quilters Association conference is coming up in June. I have no classes there, but I will be going down with a group of friends. So, if you're walking around the convention and you spot me, stop, say hi.
All right. So thanks everybody for joining us.
Before we go,
Oh,
Okay.
Oh. Yep. Go. You go. Then I go.
Okay. I was going to say before we go, because we're on YouTube, okay, and there's all these funny things with YouTube. One of the things, if you watch anybody on YouTube, they're telling you to hit that like button and subscribe. And
That's
there's
right.
a reason for that. It's so that we can keep our channel. If you're watching the video part, if you weren't able to join us tonight and you're watching the video, you can still hit that like button and subscribe. What subscribing does is you don't have to hunt for us. You just go into YouTube, and at the top is all your subscriptions, and you hit us and you should find that. There are days.
Yeah.
And this is why we called it unscripted, because life happens.
That's right. So I know, even though we've talked about Cheetos, lettuce, and we're all going to be on a cruise in 12 months, but I just wanted to share with you that I don't have any Cheetos because, well, I am trying
You ate
not
them all.
to.
Come on, you ate them all.
Yeah, okay. I ate all the Cheetos. The Cheetos are gone. But tonight is Doritos. And remember we talked about our tweezers? I have these very, very special little hands that I grab my snacks with so I don't get my fingers dirty when I'm quilting.
See,
so you gotta have your snack bowl with your Cheetos or Doritos and have your little hands.
Lynn, in the worst case scenario,
right, you could use these.
Will work.
Right. You just have to clean them before you then grab your curved piecing.
We're not on Twitter, but we do tweezer.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. If you enjoyed that chat, like we talked about, like and subscribe and follow us on our other social media platforms. Drop us a note, an email.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Drop us a question. If there's a topic you want to hear us talk about, like the curved piecing tonight, we'd love for you to share that with us. Okay. Keep creating, stay inspired, and enjoy your quilting journey. See you next time.
For everybody out there, thanks for popping in. Bye, Lynn.
Bye, Carla.